Imagine stealing a loaf of bread in the Middle Ages. And the judge says, "Perfect, let's turn you into a human pretzel and let the pigeons bully you for 2 days." Welcome to a time when justice wasn't about fairness, but more about how creative they could get with making your last days as miserable, slow, and public as possible. Today, we're counting down 10 of the most brutal medieval punishments. From being boiled alive to, well, things we probably shouldn't describe before lunch. Think your last parking ticket was harsh? Wait until you see number 1.
Number 1, breaking on the wheel.
Bind the victim to a large wooden wheel. Systematically smash limbs with a heavy iron club, breaking bones without killing instantly. Weave shattered limbs through the spokes and hoist the wheel for public display until death, sometimes lasting up to 2 to 3 days if water was given. It wasn't just about killing you, it was about making sure everyone had time to see it. Limbs shattered, one by one, woven through the spokes like some macabre art project, and then hoisted high so the whole town could watch you slowly fade away. And yes, the pigeons came too.
Documented use. France, regularly used from the 13th century onward. Holy Roman Empire. Codified in the Constitutio Criminalis Carolina in 1532, but practice predates it. Low Countries, the Netherlands and Belgium. Court records from the 1400s describe executions by wheel. Number 2, boiling alive.
Place the victim in a large cauldron filled with water, oil, or wine. Gradually heat the liquid to boiling, prolonging suffering as much as possible. Continue until death by shock, burns, or organ failure, often occurring sooner than dramatic accounts suggest. At first, it felt like a warm bath. Then the heat crept into your skin, cooking muscles before it even touched your organs. You knew what was coming, you could smell it, and the worst part, it gave you time to think about it, every second.
Documented use. England in 1531. Richard Roos executed by order of Henry VIII for poisoning. Holy Roman Empire. Coin forgers occasionally punished by boiling. The 15th century. Moscow, Russia, 16th century, under Ivan the Terrible. Number 3, impaling.
Force a sharpened stake through the anus, vagina, or abdomen. Raise the stake upright, letting the victim's body slide down by gravity. Victims could survive 24 to 48 hours if vital organs were avoided. This wasn't just an execution, it was theater. The stake entered low, missed anything that might kill you quickly, and then you were lifted up for the crowd to watch. Every inch you slid down, every gasp was part of the show, and the executioner knew exactly how to make it last.
Wallachia in the 15th century. Vlad III Tepes, or commonly known as Vlad the Impaler or Vlad Dracula, made it infamous. Ottoman Empire, used into early modern times. Poland and Lithuania, recorded in military punishment cases. Number 4, hanging, drawing, and quartering.
Hang the victim by the neck until near death. Remove from gallows, disembowel, and burn entrails as a symbolic purging. Behead and cut the body into 4 parts for display. It was like the worst 3-act play ever written. Act 1, half-hanged, gasping for air. Act 2, your stomach opened, your insides burned before your own eyes. Act 3, your head gone, your body split into 4 pieces, each sent away as a warning. No one forgot the performance.
Documented use. England in 1241. First used on William de Morisco. Wales, Scotland, and Ireland. Spread through English control. England in 1305. William Wallace famously executed by this method. Number 5. Sawing in half.
Suspend the victim upside down to prolong consciousness. Position a large saw at the groin. Saw downward, sometimes stopping midway to draw out agony. If the legends are true, they made sure you stayed alive for as long as possible, even hanging you upside down so the blood rushed to your head. Then the saw began at the most sensitive place imaginable. Sometimes they stopped halfway, just to let you feel every nerve scream.
Documented use: Mamluk Egypt and Persia. Punishments for serious crimes. China in the Ming Dynasty. Judicial execution. Europe, rare. Mostly anecdotal or propagandistic. Number 6. Burning at the stake.
Bind the victim to a wooden stake surrounded by combustible material. Ignite the pyre. Sometimes slow-burning materials were used. Death occurred from smoke inhalation or burns. Duration varied greatly.
You can see the flames before you feel them, the heat blooming against your skin in waves. The smoke rises, stinging your eyes, scratching your throat with every gasp. If the wind shifts, it might take you quickly. If not, the fire licks slowly upward, each inch of you screaming before the rest follows.
Documented use. Burning at the stake was a widely practiced punishment across medieval Europe, especially for heresy, witchcraft, and blasphemy, and it remained in use well into the early modern period. England, 1401 statute, formalized as penalty for heresy. France, in 1431, Joan of Arc executed at Rouen. Holy Roman Empire, common for heresy about witchcraft, in the 15th and 16th century. Number 7, amputation of tongue or limbs.
Restrain the victim. Sever the tongue, hand, or other limb. Cauterize the wound to prevent fatal blood loss.
Hands pinned, the cold bite of metal against your skin. Then sudden blinding pain. It's over quickly, but the wound is cauterized while you're still reeling, the smell of your own flesh filling your lungs. The injury is permanent, but so is the shame. Faces you've never seen before will still know your crime. Documented use. Byzantine Empire in the 8th century, codified in Ekloga. England, used for theft and repeat crimes. Islamic Spain, Al-Andalus, amputation under Sharia law. Number 8, crushing with torture devices. Place hands, feet, or head in a crushing device. Tighten screws gradually to increase pressure and pain. Continue until confession, or, rarely, complete destruction of the limb. Could be drawn out for hours without killing, maximizing fear. Full pulverization was rare in judicial use. The screw turns, and at first, it's just pressure. Then something gives a sharp, sickening crack. But they keep going. Hours can pass like this, each twist another reminder that they could stop. But they won't. They rarely crush the limb completely. They want you thinking about what might happen next. Documented use. The Holy Roman Empire, thumbscrews were often used in witch trials in the 15th to 17th centuries. In Scotland, the so-called boot, which was an iron leg crusher, is documented from the late medieval period. In France, pressing with heavy stones was used both for torture and to force confessions. Number 9, pain fort et dur, or pressing to death. Lay the prisoner flat on the ground, place a heavy wooden board or door on their chest. Gradually add stones or weights to increase pressure, forcing either a plea or collapse. Maintain the weight, often with the victim starved and exposed, until they either entered a plea or died under the crushing load. While crushing with torture devices was typically used during interrogations to inflict extreme pain without necessarily killing the victim, pena forte et dura shared the principle of slow, deliberate pressure. But here, the intent was execution. In other words, one was meant to break a confession, the other to break the body entirely. It began with the first creak of the wood as the board was laid over the chest. Heavy, but bearable. Then came the dull thud of stones, being placed one by one, each making it harder to draw a breath. Muscles trembled, ribs strained, the weight pressing the air from the lungs until every breath became a shallow gasp. Hours, sometimes days, passed with the victim trapped in a crushing embrace, their own body betraying them as bones bowed and cracked. The silence they kept was a final act of defiance, but it meant feeling every moment of that slow, smothering descent into death. Documented use. In England, it was introduced in the Statute of Westminster in 1275. In the 14th and 15th century, multiple court records show its use. Abolished in 1772. Number 10. Flaying alive. Restrain the condemned publicly, pillory, scaffold, or at the scene of the crime. Slice and peel sections of skin from the body, often starting with the torso or face, sometimes displaying strips as a warning. Continue until death by shock, blood loss, or subsequent hanging. Skin might be nailed to doors as a deterrent. The pain was immediate and relentless. As the executioner's knife lifted the skin from muscle, every cut exposed raw nerve endings to the open air. The crowd would see the condemned writhe, their face contorted not only in agony, but in the knowledge that each slow slice was irreversible. Even the smallest breeze could send a searing shock through the body. And the final indignity? Strips of skin nailed to a gate or hung for display, a permanent reminder that their body itself had been turned into the sentence. Documented use. England, 1199. The archer who wounded King Richard I was flayed alive. France in the 13th century, to be flayed alive was occasionally used in severe treason cases. In Assyria and Byzantium, even earlier traditions influenced medieval memory of the practice. And that wraps up our journey through some of the most brutal punishments of the Middle Ages, like methods that were not just about execution, but about spectacle, power, and control. History reminds us that justice in the past often meant suffering on display. If you want more stories like this, real, gripping history brought to life by genuine historians, make sure to check out more of History Shortcuts videos here on the channel. Fascinating, engaging, and above all, true tales from the past are waiting for you.